A beautiful bride, a vengeful ex, and a cursed wig that brings unbearable pain. Can Kofi save his wife before dark magic destroys their love? Let's find out in their story. It was a bright, cheerful morning when Kofi finally tied the knot with Sika, the beautiful lady who had captured his heart. The wedding was a grand celebration filled with laughter, music, and the joy of friends and family. As Kofi gazed into Sika's eyes during their first dance, he couldn't help but feel like the luckiest man alive. Sika's radiant beauty and her gentle demeanor had made him fall deeply in love with her. However, in a small dimly lit apartment across town, Afia, Kofi's ex-girlfriend, was filled with rage and bitterness. It had been just 6 months since Kofi had broken up with her, and she was still nursing a wounded heart. Afia had always believed she and Kofi were meant to be together. They had dated for 2 years, and though things had grown cold between them, she never thought he would leave her for someone else. She couldn't stand the thought of Kofi moving on so quickly, and worse still, with someone as perfect as Sika. Afia felt a deep burning resentment growing inside her with each passing day. As Afia scrolled through social media, her jealousy intensified when she saw the pictures of Kofi and Sika's wedding plastered everywhere. She couldn't bear it any longer. How could he do this to me? She muttered under her breath, her eyes narrowing as she stared at the photos of their happy faces. The words seemed to be mocking her. Days turned into weeks, but Afia's anger and jealousy didn't subside. She began plotting ways to get back at Kofi for the heartbreak he had caused her. Then, one day, she had an idea, a dangerous idea. She remembered an old friend, Anaku, who was known for her connections to dark magic. Afia had never dabbled in such things, but desperation pushed her to the edge. Afia contacted Nanako and told her about her heartbreak and Kofi's new wife. Nanako listened carefully and offered a solution. Black magic. Nanako explained that black magic could be used to torment Sika. She told Afia about a spell that would cause Sika intense pain, especially around her head. But how do I get close enough to Sika to do this? Afia asked, worried about how she would make the magic work without being discovered. Nanako handed Afia a beautiful wig, explaining that it was no ordinary wig. She had enchanted it with dark magic, designed to inflict unbearable headaches on whoever wore it. Give this wig to her as a gift, Nanako said with a sinister smile. She will be drawn to it, and once she wears it, the spell will take hold. After staring at the wig, both fascinated and frightened, she knew what she was doing was dangerous, but her desire to see Kofi suffer pushed her forward. A few days later, Afia carefully gave the wig to Sika's husband because they both were still friends. Sika received the wig with surprise from her husband and delight. It was a stunning piece, and she loved how soft and luxurious it felt. She had no idea it carried dark magic within. The first time Sika wore the wig, she immediately felt a dull ache in her head. At first, she thought it was just a normal headache, perhaps from stress or the excitement of her recent wedding. But the headaches didn't stop. In fact, they grew worse, and with each passing day, Sika would wake up in the morning with a troubling pain that refused to go away. Kofi was concerned. His once lively and vibrant wife was now spending most of her days in bed, clutching her head in agony. No doctor could figure out the cause of her pain. As the weeks passed, Kofi grew more frustrated and desperate. He hated seeing Sika in so much pain and not being able to help her. The love and happiness they had shared seemed to be slipping away. Meanwhile, Afia watched from the shadows. Satisfied that her plan was working, she had rumors of Sika's mysterious illness and knew it was only a matter of time before Kofi would come running back to her. Sika's condition worsened. The headache were now accompanied by dizziness and blurred vision. She had stopped wearing the wig, but the pain didn't cease. Kofi, feeling helpless, decided to seek spiritual help. He visited several healers, but none could break the mysterious hold over Sika. One evening, Kofi sat by Sika's bedside, watching her sleep fitfully. His mind wandered back to his relationship with Afia. He hadn't thought about her much since the heartbreak, but now something about the timing of Sika's illness bothered him. Kofi began to wonder if Afia could have had something to do with this. She had always been a bit mysterious, and her reaction to their breakup had been more intense than he had expected. Curiosity got the better of him, and Kofi decided to visit Afia. He told himself it was just to clear his mind, to see if she knew anything, but deep down, a part of him was drawn to her once again. Afia was surprised when she opened the door to find Kofi standing on her doorstep. She quickly hid her satisfaction and greeted him with feigned innocence. "Kofi, what are you doing here?" she asked, her heart racing with excitement. She had been waiting for this moment. "I need to talk to you," Kofi said, stepping inside. "Something's wrong with Sika, and I can't shake the feeling that you might know something about it." Afia's eyes withered slightly, but she quickly composed herself. "Why would you think that?" she asked, pretending to be offended. "I've moved on, Kofi." Kofi wasn't convinced. "Afia, I know you were upset when we broke up, but this feels different. Sika's been having these unbearable headaches, and no one can explain why." Afia bit her lips, trying to maintain her fascination. "I'm sorry to hear that," she said softly, though inside she was thrilled to see her plan unfolding perfectly. Kofi sighed, running his hand through his head. "I don't know what to do, Afia. I'm losing her, and I can't help her." Afia leaned closer to Kofi, placing a hand on his arm. "Maybe you need someone who can help you through this," she whispered, her voice soft and persuasive. Kofi felt a strange comfort in Afia's presence, a familiarity he hadn't realized he missed. He looked into her eyes, and for a moment he felt the weight of the world lift from his shoulders. "Maybe I do," he muttered, almost to himself. Days turned into weeks, and Kofi found himself spending more and more time with Afia. He told himself it was just for comfort, that he needed a friend during this difficult time. But deep down, he knew he was falling back into old patterns. The more time he spent with Afia, the more he was drawn to her, despite the guilt gnawing at his conscience. Sika, still battling her mysterious illness, noticed Kofi's increasing absence. She felt the distance between them grow, and it only added to her pain. Afia, meanwhile, was ecstatic. Kofi was hers again, just as she had planned. The black magic had worked, and now she just needed to keep him close. But dark magic always comes with consequences. Nanaku had warned Afia that the spell was powerful, but it couldn't last forever without repercussions. One evening, as Afia sat alone, she began to feel a strange sensation in her own head. It started as a light pressure, but quickly grew into a sharp stabbing pain. She gasped, clutching her head, realizing that the black magic she had used on Sika was now turning against her. Panic filled Afia as she tried to call Nanaku, but it was too late. The spell had backfired and now Afia was trapped in the same torment she had inflicted on Sika. Meanwhile, Kofi still tore between his guilt and his rekindled feelings for Afia, received a call from Sika's doctor. They had finally found a spiritual healer who believed they could break the curse. Kofi rushed to the hospital, desperate to see Sika. When he arrived, the healer was already working on lifting the spell, and slowly Sika's pain began to subside. As Sika recovered, Kofi felt a rush of relief and guilt. He had been so focused on his past with Afia that he had almost lost the woman he truly loved. Back at Afia's apartment, the pain had become unbearable. She realized that her obsession with Kofi had led her down a dark path, one that she couldn't escape from now. The healer who had helped Sika sense the remnant of the black magic and trace it back to Afia. It wasn't long before the truth came to light. Kofi was devastated when he learned the full extent of what Afia had done. He couldn't believe that the woman he had once loved had gone so far as to use dark magic to harm Sika. The betrayal cut deep, and Kofi was filled with regret for ever getting involved with Afia again. Sika, now recovering, was shocked when Kofi told her the truth. She had never suspected that someone could be so malicious, but despite the revelation, Sika's love for Kofi was still strong. "We've both been through so much," Sika said softly, her hand resting in Kofi's. "But I need to know, Kofi, are you with me or do you still have feelings for her?" Kofi's heart ached as he looked into Sika's eyes. He knew the answer immediately. Afia was his past, a toxic chapter of his life that had caused nothing but pain. "I am with you, Sika," Kofi said firmly, squeezing her hand. "I should have never let her back into my life. I've learned my lesson and I won't make that mistake again." Sika smiled weakly, relieved to hear Kofi's words, but the damage that had been done was hard to forget. Trust had been broken and it would take time for their relationship to fully heal. Meanwhile, Afia's condition worsened. The spell had taken its toll on her mind and body. She was consumed by the same agony headaches she had once inflicted on Sika. Nanaku had warned Afia that dabbling in dark magic came with a price, but Afia had been too blinded by jealousy to listen. Now she was paying the ultimate cost. Afia tried to reach out to Kofi, hoping for forgiveness or even just comfort, but Kofi refused to see her. He was done with the toxic cycle of their relationship. "I can't be part of your life anymore, Afia," Kofi told her in a brief phone call. "What you did is unforgivable. You need to let go and move on, just like I have." Afia sobbed on the other end of the line, but Kofi remained resolute. His heart belonged to Sika and he was determined to make things right with her. As the weeks went by, Sika's health improved steadily. The headaches were gone and the curse had been lifted, but the emotional scars lingered. Kofi devoted himself to being by her side, trying to rebuild the love they had once shared. Slowly, their relationship began to mend. Sika appreciated Kofi's efforts, and though trust was still fragile, they both knew they wanted to fight for their marriage. Afia, on the other hand, was left alone with her regrets. The black magic had cost her in more ways than one. Her reputation was ruined and she had lost any chances of reconciling with Kofi. Nanaku, sensing that Afia's desperation had led her down a dark and irreversible path, distanced herself from the situation. She had won Afia after all, and now there was nothing more she could do. Afia's headaches became unbearable and she realized the gravity of her actions. She had let her jealousy destroy everything she cared about, including her own well-being. One day, as Afia lay in her bed, clutching her hand in her head, she reflected on how her life had gone out of control. She had loved Kofi, but her love had turned into a dangerous obsession. "I did this to myself," she whispered to the empty room. Tears streamed down her face. "I let my anger consume me." In a moment of clarity, Afia decided that she could no longer live like this. She sought out spiritual healers to reverse the cause, but the damage had already been done. Kofi and Sika continued to rebuild their lives, focusing on their marriage and the future they had still ahead. The trauma of the past few months was a painful memory, but they were determined to move forward. They spent more time together, going on trips and enjoying each other's company in ways they hadn't since their wedding. The bond between them grew stronger. Kofi had learned a valuable lesson about love and loyalty. He realized that true love was about commitment, trust, and being there for each other, no matter how difficult things become. Sika, though still hurt by everything that had happened, also learned the importance of forgiveness. She didn't condone what Kofi had done, but she chose to give their love a second chance. Afia, on the other hand, became a recluse. The once vibrant and confident woman had been reduced to a shadow of herself. The magic she had unleashed had taken a toll, not just on her head, but on her soul. She rarely left her apartment and her social circle quickly disappeared. No one wanted to be associated with someone who had meddled in some dark forces. Kofi's friends and family, who had once adored Afia, were shocked when they learned the truth. They cut all ties with her, standing by Sika and supporting Kofi's decision to distance himself from the past. Months passed and Kofi and Sika began to heal together. They attended counseling to address the emotional wounds left by the ordeal, and through it all, they found themselves growing closer. Sika's headaches were completely gone, and the joy that had been missing from their lives slowly returned.